I was at work when my phone rang. Not unusual, I get calls all day, compliance officers, plant managers. Someone always needs something signed, approved, or explained. That's what I do. I walk into food manufacturing facilities and tell them everything they're doing wrong before the FDA does it for them. It pays well. It's boring. People think I'm boring. I like it that way. The call came in at 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday. I was reviewing moisture control documentation for a cracker plant in Toledo when my daughter's name lit up the screen. We don't talk much during work hours. She knows my schedule. I know hers. So when I saw her name, I felt something tighten in my chest before I even answered. "Hey, sweetheart," I said, keeping my voice level. The sound that came back wasn't words. It was breathing, shaky, wet. "Dad." One word. But I heard everything in it. I stood up from my desk and walked to the window overlooking the parking lot. 3 floors down, cars sat baking in the September heat. The world looked normal. It wasn't. "What happened?" Not a question, a demand. "I made dinner," she said. Her voice was small, childlike. She's 28 years old and she sounded 6. "I made this chicken dish. His father said it was too spicy. I said I could make him something else. He said I was being disrespectful. He said I should have known better." I waited. I know how to wait. People always fill silence if you let them. "He hit me, Dad." The tightness in my chest turned into something cold, something sharp. "Where?" "Across the face. Open hand. It wasn't that hard. I mean, it didn't." "Where is your husband?" Silence. "Where is he right now?" "He's here. He's in the living room. He saw it happen." "And what did he do?" More silence. Longer this time. I could hear her breathing. I could hear a TV in the background. Sounded like sports. Someone was watching sports while my daughter tried to figure out how to tell me that her husband had done nothing. "He said we shouldn't make it a big deal," she finally whispered. "He said his father has a temper and it's better to just let it go. He said if I stay calm, everything will be fine." I looked at my reflection in the window. 54 years old. Gray at the temples. Reading glasses hanging from my collar. I look like someone who fixes refrigerators or sells insurance. I look harmless. I'm not. "I'm coming over," I said. "Dad, no, please. It'll just make it worse." "I'll be there in 30 minutes. "Dad," I hung up. I didn't pack up my desk. I didn't send an email. I didn't tell my supervisor I was leaving. I just walked out. Down the hallway, into the elevator, through the lobby, out into the heat. My car was parked in the usual spot. A gray sedan, 4 years old. Nothing special. I drive boring cars. I wear boring clothes. I live in a boring house in a boring neighborhood. People see what they expect to see. I got in, started the engine, pulled out of the lot, and I started thinking. Her father-in-law, retired about 3 years ago, worked in food distribution his whole life, made good money, bought a big house in one of those new developments where everything looks the same, white siding, black shutters, stone accents, 3-car garage, HOA rules so strict you can't plant the wrong color flowers. I'd met him 4 times. Once at the engagement party, once at the wedding, once at Thanksgiving, once at Easter. Every time I'd watched him. I watch everyone. It's my job. I look for what doesn't fit, what's out of compliance, what's going to fail. He drank too much, not sloppy drunk, controlled drunk. The kind where you can still form sentences but your eyes go flat and your smile doesn't reach them. He talked too loud. He interrupted his wife constantly. He made jokes that weren't jokes. He corrected people about things that didn't matter. And every time, I saw my daughter get smaller. Every time, I saw her husband get quieter. Red flags, all of them. But not my business. Not my house. Not my marriage. Until today. I took the highway. Traffic was light. I made it to their neighborhood in 26 minutes. The house looked exactly like the other houses. Perfect lawn, perfect landscaping, perfect driveway. 2 cars parked in front. One was my daughter's, the other belonged to her husband, so they were both home. Good. I parked on the street and sat there for a moment. I thought about what I was holding, what I'd grabbed from my car before I left work. It wasn't a weapon. It was something else. Something that would make a point without making a mess. I got out of the car and walked up the driveway. The front door was painted black. There was a wreath made of fake greenery hanging on it. A doorbell camera blinked its little red light at me. I ignored it. I knocked. 3 times. Solid. Deliberate. I heard movement inside. Footsteps, someone looking through the peephole. The door opened. Her father-in-law stood there, tall, maybe 6'2", thick through the shoulders. He was wearing khakis and a polo shirt. Barefoot. holding a glass of something amber-colored over ice. He looked at me. Then he looked down at what I was holding. His expression changed. Not fear, not exactly. Something closer to recognition, like a dog that just realized the other dog isn't playing. "Can I help you?" he said. His voice was flat. "I'm here to see my daughter. She's resting." "Then I'll wait." He didn't move. We stood there, him inside, me outside, separated by a threshold and about 40 years of different choices. "This isn't a good time," he said. "I didn't ask if it was." His jaw tightened. I saw his grip shift on the glass. I saw his weight shift to the balls of his feet. Old instincts, the kind you develop when you've thrown punches before. "You should call first," he said. "I don't need permission to see my daughter." "You need permission to enter my house." I smiled. Not friendly, just polite. "Then invite me in." He stared at me. I stared back. And somewhere behind him, I heard a door open. Footsteps. My daughter's voice. "Dad?" Her father-in-law stepped aside. I walked in. The house smelled like air freshener and something cooking. The entryway opened into a living room with vaulted ceilings and too much furniture. Everything matched. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked like it came from the same catalog. My daughter stood at the bottom of the staircase. She was wearing leggings and an oversized sweater. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was red on one side. Not swollen, not bruised, just red. The kind of red that comes from a slap that was meant to hurt, but not mark. I looked at her. She looked at me, and I saw the exact moment she realized I wasn't here to talk. "Dad, please," she said. "Let's just—" "Where's your husband?" She hesitated, then pointed toward the back of the house. I walked past her, through the living room, into a hallway, into what looked like a den, leather furniture, big TV on the wall, sports highlights playing with the sound on. Her husband was sitting on the couch. He looked up when I walked in. He's 31, works in marketing, wears fitted shirts and expensive watches, keeps his hair styled and his beard trimmed. He looks like someone who drinks protein shakes and talks about crypto. He stood up when he saw me. "Hey," he said. "Look, I know you're probably upset, but sit down." He sat down. I stood in front of the TV, blocking it, making him look at me. "Tell me what happened," I said. He glanced toward the doorway, probably hoping his father would come save him. When no one appeared, he cleared his throat. "It was a misunderstanding," he said. "Dad has a thing about spicy food. She knows that. She made something too spicy." He got frustrated. It escalated. He hit her. It wasn't like that. What was it like? Look, he's from a different generation. He doesn't know how to express frustration without hitting women? His face flushed. "That's not what I'm saying." "Then what are you saying?" Silence. I waited. "I'm saying it's complicated," he finally said. "This is his house. We live here because he lets us. He helps us financially. He's been generous. And yeah, sometimes he's difficult, but that's just how he is. We have to be patient. You watched him hit your wife, and you said nothing. I told her to stay calm. I told her it would blow over. You told her to accept being hit. I told her not to make it worse." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I understood. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't cruel. He was something worse. He was a coward. "Where is he now?" I asked. "In the kitchen, I think." I turned and walked out. My daughter was standing in the hallway. She grabbed my arm as I passed. "Dad, please. I don't want this to turn into something." "It already is something. I can handle it. You shouldn't have to. It's my marriage. My life." I stopped, looked at her. "And when he does it again, he won't. He will. You don't know that." I didn't argue. There's no point in arguing with someone who's trying to convince themselves. I found her father-in-law in the kitchen. He was standing at the counter, refilling his drink. He didn't look up when I walked in. "You need to leave," he said. "Not yet. This is my house. I'm aware." He turned to face me. His expression was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes before violence. "I don't know what she told you," he said. "But I'm sure it was exaggerated. She's emotional. She takes things personally. I was trying to teach her some respect, and it got out of hand." "Teach her?" "That's right. By hitting her. By correcting her." I set what I was holding down on the counter between us. It made a solid sound. Heavy. He looked at it, then at me. "Is that supposed to scare me?" he asked. "No," I said. "It's supposed to remind you." "Remind me of what?" "That I know who you are." His eyes narrowed. You don't know anything about me. I know you hit women when they don't do what you want. I know you drink too much and talk too loud and think respect is the same thing as fear. I know your son is terrified of you. I know your wife doesn't speak unless you give her permission. And I know my daughter is afraid to leave because you've convinced her she has nowhere to go. His face darkened. Get out of my house. Or what? Or I'll make you. I smiled again. Same polite smile. You should try, I said. I'd like that. He took a step forward. So did I. And that's when my daughter ran into the room. Stop, she shouted. Both of you, just stop. I didn't take my eyes off him. He didn't take his eyes off me. Dad, please, she said. Her voice was breaking. Please just go. I'll call you later. We'll talk, but please just go. I looked at her, saw the tears, saw the fear, saw the choice she was making. She was choosing him. Not her husband, not her father-in-law, but the life, the house, the money, the path of least resistance. And I realized something. I couldn't save her. She didn't want to be saved. Okay, I said quietly. I picked up what I'd set on the counter, turned, walked toward the door. My daughter followed me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have called. I didn't know what to do. I stopped at the front door, looked at her one more time. Call me when you're ready, I said. Ready for what? To leave. I'm not leaving. You will. I walked out, got in my car, drove home, and that's when I stopped being a father trying to help. That's when I became something else. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. I didn't go back to work. I went home, pulled into my driveway, sat in the car for 20 minutes staring at nothing. My house is small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, built in the 70s. Needs paint, needs new gutters, needs a lot of things. I bought it after the divorce, paid cash, no mortgage, no debt, no one to answer to. I like it that way. I got out of the car and went inside. The air was stale. I keep the windows closed and the AC on low. Keeps the bills down, keeps the noise out. I dropped my keys on the kitchen counter and stood there. My daughter's voice kept playing in my head. Please just go. Not help me, not stay. Please just go. I opened the refrigerator, grabbed a beer, twisted the cap off, took a long drink. Then I sat down at my kitchen table and started making a list. I'm good at lists. I make them for work all the time. Compliance audits, safety protocols, corrective action plans. You identify the problem, you break it into steps, you execute. This was no different. The problem? My daughter was living in an abusive household. Her husband was complicit, her father-in-law was the aggressor, she was financially dependent, she was emotionally trapped, she wasn't leaving. The solution? Remove the trap, not by rescuing her. She'd already made it clear she didn't want that, but by dismantling the structure that kept her there. Her father-in-law had power because he had money. He had money because he'd built a career in food distribution. He had reputation, he had connections, he had status. Take those away, and what did he have? Nothing. I finished my beer and opened my laptop. First step, information. I started with the basics. Public records, LinkedIn, Facebook, company websites, obituaries, court filings, property records, everything that's freely available if you know where to look. Her father-in-law's name was Donald Pritchett, retired 3 years ago from a mid-sized food distribution company called Summit Foods, 42 years with the company. Worked his way up from warehouse to regional VP, decent salary, better pension, stock options that vested when the company got bought out by a larger conglomerate. He'd done well for himself, but that wasn't what interested me. What interested me was the gap. He'd retired at 61. That's early. Most guys in his position stick around until 65, maybe 70. They like the power. They like being important. So why leave early? I dug deeper. Found an article in a trade publication from 4 years ago. Summit Foods was under investigation by the USDA for improper temperature logging at one of their warehouses. Product recall, some bad press. The investigation concluded with a fine and new compliance protocols. Donald Pritchett's name wasn't mentioned, but the timing was interesting. I made a note. Then I moved on to his personal life. Married for 38 years. Wife's name was Beverly. No social media presence. No professional history. No public footprint at all. She was a ghost. That told me something. They had one son, my daughter's husband. His name was Jeff, 31 years old, worked for a marketing firm downtown, made decent money. Not great, enough to look successful, not enough to actually be independent. I cross-referenced property records. The house they all lived in was in Donald's name. Bought 8 years ago for $680,000. Current estimated value around $790,000. No mortgage, paid in cash. Jeff and my daughter had been living there for 2 years, since 6 months after the wedding. I sat back and thought about that. Why would a newly married couple move in with the groom's parents? The obvious answer, money. But it wasn't just about saving on rent. It was about control. Donald wanted them there. He wanted his son close. He wanted my daughter dependent. He wanted to be the center of their world. And it was working. I opened a new tab and started searching for professional contacts. I've been in the food industry for 30 years. I know people. I know who to call when I need information. I know who owes me favors. I found 3 names. People who'd worked at Summit Foods during Donald's tenure, people who'd moved on to other companies, people who might talk. I sent 3 emails, short, professional, casual. Hey, long time. Doing some consulting work and your name came up? Any chance you're free for a call this week? Then I closed my laptop and sat in the silence. It was almost 6 p.m. Outside, I could hear my neighbor mowing his lawn. Inside, the refrigerator hummed. I thought about my daughter. She'd always been sensitive, even as a kid. She cried at movies. She cried when other kids got hurt. She apologized for things that weren't her fault. Her mother used to say she was too soft, too trusting, too eager to please. I used to think that was a good thing. Now I wasn't sure, because soft people break. And when they break, they don't always put themselves back together. My phone buzzed. A text from her. I'm sorry about today. I know you were trying to help. I just need some time to figure things out. Please don't be mad. I stared at the message. Typed a reply. I'm not mad. Call me if you need anything. She didn't respond. I put the phone down and went to the garage. My garage is organized, tools on pegboards, shelves labeled, everything in its place. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a craftsman. But I know how to maintain things. I know how to fix what's broken. I pulled out a cardboard box from the top shelf. Inside were files, old work documents, performance reviews, incident reports, safety audits, things I'd kept from jobs over the years, things that didn't seem important until they were. I flipped through them until I found what I was looking for. A report from 11 years ago, a facility inspection I'd done for a warehouse in Cincinnati. The client was Summit Foods. I'd flagged multiple violations. Temperature control, pest management, employee training, all correctable, all fixable. But the regional manager had pushed back, said I was being too picky, said the corporate office didn't need to know. That regional manager's name was Donald Pritchett. I'd filed the report anyway, sent it up the chain, got a polite thank you, and never heard about it again. But I kept a copy. I always keep copies. I put the file on my kitchen table next to my laptop and opened another beer. Then I started planning. Not revenge, not yet, preparation. Because the thing about dismantling someone's life is that it has to look like they did it to themselves. It has to be their fault, their choices, their mistakes, their consequences. All I had to do was give them the opportunity. I spent the rest of the evening mapping it out. Who to call, what to say, what to ask, what to imply. By the time I went to bed, I had a framework. Not a plan, not yet, but a direction. I set my alarm for 6 a.m., and when I woke up the next morning, I got to work. I started with the emails I'd sent the night before. 2 of the 3 had already replied. Both said they'd be happy to talk. One suggested a phone call. The other suggested coffee. I took the coffee meeting. We met at a chain cafe near downtown, the kind of place where everything is overpriced and underseasoned. He arrived 10 minutes late, apologized, ordered something complicated. His name was Martin Rivers, mid-50s, worked at Summit Foods for 15 years before moving to a competitor, currently in supply chain management, seemed happy enough. We made small talk, talked about the industry, talked about mutual acquaintances, talked about how everything was changing. Then I steered the conversation. I heard Summit had some trouble a few years back, I said. Something about a USDA audit? He nodded. Yeah, that was a mess. Before my time there, but I heard about it. Temperature logs got flagged. Turned into a whole thing. They clean it up? Eventually. Paid the fine, brought in new compliance people, changed some protocols. Anyone lose their job over it? He hesitated, just for a second, but I saw it. Not officially, he said, but there were some early retirements. Like who? I don't know all the details, but I know one of the regional VPs stepped down right around that time, a guy named Pritchett, Don something. Donald? Yeah, that's him. You know him? We've met. Martin leaned back, took a sip of his coffee. He was a piece of work, he said. Old school. Thought he could bully his way through audits. Thought rules were suggestions. Got away with it for years because he made the company money. Until he didn't. Exactly. I let that sit for a moment. What happened? I asked. I don't know the specifics, but the story I heard was that he got caught falsifying logs. Not just his facility, multiple facilities. Someone blew the whistle. Corporate investigated. Found enough to make him go away quietly. No charges? Nope. They handled it internally. Gave him a retirement package. Let him save face. Probably worried about liability. I nodded slowly. He still have friends at the company? I asked. Doubt it. Most of the old guard is gone. New management doesn't care about what happened 5 years ago. We talked for another 20 minutes. Then I thanked him, paid for his coffee, shook his hand, and walked out with exactly what I needed. Confirmation. Donald Pritchett hadn't retired because he wanted to. He'd retired because he'd been forced out, and if the company had buried it once, they'd do anything to keep it buried. I drove home and added a new section to my list. Then I made a phone call. 2 weeks passed. I kept working, kept gathering information, kept building my case. Ed sent me more details about Summit's settlement. Sealed records, but he knew someone who'd been part of the legal team. They'd settled for just under $2 million, split between 8 plaintiffs, all of them former employees who'd gotten sick from contaminated product. Donald's name had come up during discovery, but Summit had protected him, claimed he wasn't directly responsible, blamed it on warehouse staff, lower-level managers, anyone but him. It had worked, but it had also left a paper trail. I started looking for the plaintiffs, found 3 of them through public records, reached out, 1 didn't respond, 1 told me to go to hell, the 3rd agreed to talk. His name was Marcus Delgado. Worked at Summit's Cincinnati warehouse for 6 years. Got E. coli from mishandled product. Spent 2 weeks in the hospital. Lost his job. Got a settlement that barely covered his medical bills. We met at a diner near his house. He was younger than I expected. Early 30s. Looked tired. I don't know what you think I can tell you, he said. Whatever you remember, I said. About Donald Pritchett. About what happened. He stirred his coffee. Didn't drink it. Pritchett was a bastard, he said. He'd come through the warehouse and scream at people. Didn't matter what you were doing. He'd find something wrong. He'd threaten to fire you if you didn't move faster, if you didn't cut corners. What kind of corners? Temperature checks, cleaning protocols, stuff that takes time. He didn't care. He just wanted numbers. Wanted to look good for corporate. You reported it? Couple of us did. Nothing happened. Then people started getting sick. Then the USDA showed up. Then it all went to shit. Did you testify? Almost, but Summit settled before it got that far. My lawyer said it was better to take the money and move on. You signed an NDA? Yeah, but I don't care anymore. They screwed me. They can sue me if they want. I nodded. I might need you to go on record. Would you be willing? Depends. What's this about? I told him. Abbreviated version. Didn't mention my daughter by name, just said Pritchett was still hurting people. Yeah, he said. I'll talk. Just tell me when. I thanked him, paid for his coffee, left. One more piece. I was starting to see the whole picture now. Donald Pritchett wasn't just abusive at home. He was abusive everywhere, at work, at church, in his neighborhood. He'd built a life where he could control people, where he could hurt them without consequences. But that only worked as long as people stayed silent. I wasn't staying silent. I spent the next week putting together a dossier. Everything I'd collected. Every statement, every document, every piece of evidence. Rachel's HR complaint, Marcus's testimony, Angela's inside information, Ed's findings about the USDA audit, medical records for my daughter, photos of the Facebook posts, recordings of my conversations with people who'd worked with Donald. I organized it all into a single file, printed it out, put it in a binder, then I made copies, one for me, one for my lawyer, one for someone else. I wasn't sure who yet, but I'd know when the time came. On a Friday afternoon, my daughter called again. Dad, can we meet? She asked. Of course. When? Tomorrow, just us, not at the house. Where? There's a park near my work. Can you meet me there at noon? I'll be there. I showed up 15 minutes early. The park was small, a few benches, a playground, some walking paths. It was cold, late October, leaves everywhere. I sat on a bench and waited. She arrived at 12:05, wearing a coat and sunglasses, her hair pulled back. She sat down next to me. Didn't say anything at first. I waited. "I'm pregnant," she finally said. The world tilted. "How far along?" I asked. 8 weeks. "Does Jeff know?" "Yeah, so does his father." "And?" She pulled off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. "His father is thrilled," she said. "He wants grandkids. He's already talking about turning one of the guest rooms into a nursery. He's being nice to me, like really nice. He apologized for hitting me, said he was stressed, said it won't happen again." I didn't say anything. "Jeff wants me to forgive him," she continued. "He says this is a fresh start, a chance to be a family." "What do you want?" She looked at me, her face crumpled. "I want to leave," she whispered. "I want to leave so bad, but I don't know how. I don't have money. I don't have a job. I don't have anywhere to go." "You have me. You can't support a baby, Dad. I can support you. We'll figure out the rest." She shook her head. "I can't do that to you." "You're not doing anything to me. I'm offering." "And what happens when Jeff fights for custody? What happens when his father hires a lawyer? What happens when they drag me through court and make me look like a bad mother?" "That won't happen." "You don't know that." "I do, because I won't let it." She laughed, that same bitter laugh. "You can't control this, Dad. You can't fix this. Watch me." We sat in silence. Then she said, "I'm scared." "I know. I'm scared I'm going to turn into his mother, that I'm going to let him hit my kid, that I'm going to teach my kid that this is normal." "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you're not her, and you're not him, and you're not going to let this happen." She wiped her eyes. "I need time," she said. "I need to think." "How much time?" "I don't know. A few weeks, maybe a month." I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her she didn't have time, that every day she stayed was another day closer to being trapped forever. But I didn't. "Okay," I said, "but I'm not waiting forever." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm moving forward, with or without you." She looked at me. "What are you going to do?" "What needs to be done?" "Dad." "I'm not asking for your permission." She stood up. "Don't do anything crazy." "I'm not. Promise me." "I promise." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her face, but she left anyway. And I went home and opened my laptop. It was time. I spent the weekend refining my plan. It wasn't complicated. Complicated plans fail. People get caught up in logistics. Timing goes wrong. Variables change. Simple plans work. And my plan was simple. I was going to expose Donald Pritchett. Not legally. Not yet. That would come later if it needed to. But first, I was going to strip away the facade. I was going to make everyone see what he really was. The people at his church. The people in his neighborhood. The people who thought he was a good man. A leader. Someone to respect. I was going to destroy that image. And once it was gone, he'd have nothing. No power, no influence, no protection. Just consequences. I started by making a list of targets. People who needed to know. People who could do something about it. The pastor at the church. The HOA president. The other elders. The neighbors who'd posted sympathetic comments about Beverly. I drafted an email. Subject line, concerns about Donald Pritchett body. I am writing to bring to your attention a pattern of abusive behavior by Donald Pritchett. Over the past several years, he has demonstrated a history of mistreating family members, subordinates, and colleagues. Attached is documentation supporting these claims, including witness statements and medical records. I believe it is important for community leaders to be aware of this behavior and to take appropriate action. Please contact me if you would like to discuss further. I attached a PDF, redacted version of my dossier, removed my daughter's name, removed identifying details, but left enough to make the point. Then I saved it as a draft. I wasn't ready to send it yet, not until I had one more piece. Monday morning, I drove to my daughter's neighborhood. I didn't go to the house. I parked down the street, watched. At 7:30 a.m., Jeff left for work. Black sedan. Drove past me without noticing. At 8:15, Donald left. White SUV. Also didn't notice me. At 9, my daughter came out. Got in her car, drove away. The house was empty. I waited 10 minutes, made sure no one came back. Then I got out of my car and walked up the driveway. The front door had a smart lock, camera above it. I ignored both. I didn't go to the front door. I went around the side of the house. Checked the gate, locked, climbed over it. The backyard was big, manicured lawn, patio furniture, a grill that looked like it had never been used. I walked to the back door, tried the handle, locked. I pulled out a small toolkit from my jacket, picked the lock in under a minute, opened the door, stepped inside. I was in the kitchen. I stood still, listened, made sure the house was actually empty. Silence. I moved quickly. I wasn't here to steal. I was here to document. I went upstairs first, found the master bedroom, opened drawers, looked through papers, found bank statements, credit card bills, mortgage documents. Everything was in Donald's name. I took photos with my phone, found medication bottles in the bathroom, Beverly's prescriptions, anxiety, depression, sleep aids, more photos. Went to the guest bedroom, the one they were planning to turn into a nursery. It was empty except for boxes. I opened them, old files, tax returns, business documents from Summit Foods. I flipped through them, found performance reviews, found emails, found memos. One of the memos was flagged. Internal investigation into warehouse procedures, Donald's name at the top. I took photos of everything. Then I went back downstairs, found Donald's office. Locked door, picked it. Inside was a desk, filing cabinets, a computer. I didn't touch the computer. Too risky. But I went through the filing cabinets, found contracts, insurance policies, legal documents, found the NDA he'd signed with Summit Foods. I read it carefully. Standard language, non-disclosure, non-disparagement, penalties for violation. I took photos, kept digging, found a folder labeled personal. Opened it. Inside were letters, handwritten, old. I pulled one out, read it. It was from Beverly, dated 15 years ago, addressed to a marriage counselor. I don't know how to make him stop. He gets so angry. He says things that hurt. Sometimes he pushes me. Sometimes he breaks things. I'm scared of him, but I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I stood there holding that letter for a long time. Then I took a photo, put it back, closed the folder, walked out of the office, locked the door behind me, went back through the kitchen, out the back door, locked it, climbed over the gate, got in my car, drove away. No one saw me. No one knew I'd been there, but I had what I needed. That night, I finalized the email, added the new photos to the PDF, included the letter from Beverly, the NDA, the Summit documents, made sure everything was clear, everything was damning. Then I reviewed my target list, the pastor, the HOA president, 3 elders from the church, 2 neighbors who'd expressed concern about Beverly, 6 people total. I typed in their email addresses, checked them twice. My finger hovered over the send button. This was it. Once I sent this, there was no going back. Donald would know someone was coming for him. He'd lawyer up. He'd fight back. He'd make my daughter's life hell. But if I didn't send it, nothing would change. He'd keep hurting people, keep getting away with it, keep hiding behind his reputation. I thought about my daughter, about her sitting in that park, about her saying she was scared. I thought about Beverly's letter, about 15 years of fear. I thought about all the people Donald had hurt, all the people who'd stayed silent because they didn't think anyone would believe them. I clicked send, 6 emails, gone. I closed my laptop, poured a drink, and waited. The responses started coming in the next morning. The first was from the HOA president. Polite, professional, said he'd review the information and bring it to the board. The second was from one of the neighbors, shocked, concerned, asked if there was anything she could do. The third was from the pastor. "We need to talk. Can you come to my office today?" I replied. 2 p.m. He responded, "See you then." At 2 p.m., I walked into his office. He wasn't alone. 2 other men were there, both older, both wearing suits. "These are our senior elders," the pastor said. I thought it would be appropriate for them to be part of this conversation. I sat down. "We received your email," one of the elders said. "We've reviewed the materials you provided." "And?" I asked. "It's concerning, very concerning, but we need to verify the information before we take action." "Everything in that document is verifiable. I can provide sources for all of it." "We'll need to speak with Donald first." "Of course you will." The pastor leaned forward. "We're not trying to protect him. We're trying to be fair. We have a process for these situations." "Your process protects abusers." His face flushed. "That's not true." "Isn't it? How many complaints have you received about Donald over the years?" Silence. "That's what I thought," I said. "We can't discuss other complaints," the elder said. "That's confidential." "But they exist." More silence. I stood up. Do what you need to do, I said. But know this, if you don't act, I will. What does that mean? The pastor asked. It means I'm not done. I walked out. 2 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. This is Donald Pritchett. His voice was cold, controlled. What can I do for you? I said. You can stop spreading lies about me. I haven't lied about anything. You broke into my house. You stole documents. You violated my privacy. Prove it. I have cameras. Then call the police. Silence. You're making a mistake, he said. I don't think so. My daughter is pregnant. Do you really want to put her through this? Your daughter? You know what I mean. She's my daughter, and you put her through this, not me. She's happy here. She has everything she needs. Except safety. I've never hurt her. You hit her. That was a misunderstanding. No, it was assault. His voice changed. Got quieter. More dangerous. You need to back off, he said, or you're going to regret it. Is that a threat? It's a warning. I don't take warnings from men who hit women. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From anger. He thought he could intimidate me. Thought he could make me stop. He was wrong. The next morning, I got a call from my daughter. What did you do? Her voice was shaking, angry. What are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about. The emails, the documents, the church, the neighbors. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone knows. Good. Good? Dad, this isn't good. This is a nightmare. Jeff's dad is furious. He's talking about suing you. He's talking about getting a restraining order. Let him try. This isn't a game. You're right, it's not. Then why are you doing this? Because someone has to. I told you I needed time. I told you I'd figure it out. You've had time, and nothing changed. Everything was fine until you... Nothing was fine. You were just pretending. She went quiet. I can't do this anymore, she said. I can't be in the middle of this. You're not in the middle. You're the reason. Then stop. Please, just stop. I can't. Why not? Because I love you, and I'm not going to stand by and watch you get destroyed. She started crying. You're the one destroying everything. No. He did that. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. This was the cost. I'd known it would come to this. Known she'd turn on me, at least temporarily. But it still hurt. I went to work. Tried to focus. Couldn't. Around lunch, I got an email from the HEOA president. We've scheduled an emergency board meeting to discuss the allegations against Donald Pritchett. We'd like you to attend and present your findings. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Clubhouse. I replied, I'll be there. That night, I prepared. Printed out copies of the dossier. Made sure everything was organized. Highlighted key sections. I wasn't nervous. I'd done presentations like this 100 times. Different context, same principles. Lay out the facts, show the evidence, let people draw their own conclusions. The next evening, I arrived at the clubhouse at 6:45. The parking lot was full, more cars than I expected. I walked inside. The main room was set up with rows of chairs. About 50 people already seated, neighbors, community members, people I'd never seen before. At the front was a long table, 5 people sitting behind it, the board members. Donald was there, sitting in the front row, Beverly next to him, Jeff on the other side, my daughter next to Jeff. She didn't look at me. I found a seat in the back, sat down, waited. At 7 p.m., the HOA president called the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming, he said. We're here tonight to address serious allegations that have been brought to our attention regarding one of our residents, Donald Pritchett. We've invited the individual who made these allegations to present his findings. After that, Mr. Pritchett will have an opportunity to respond. Then we'll open it up for community discussion. He looked at me. Please come forward. I stood up, walked to the front, set my folder on the podium, looked out at the crowd. Donald was staring at me, his jaw tight, his hands gripped on the armrests. I started talking. I laid it out methodically. The HR complaints at Summit Foods, the USDA audit, the forced retirement, the NDA, the medical records showing Beverly's anxiety and depression, the letter she'd written to the marriage counselor, the incident with my daughter. I kept my tone neutral, professional. Let the facts speak for themselves. When I finished, the room was silent. The HOA president cleared his throat. Mr. Pritchett, would you like to respond? Donald stood up. Slowly. His face was red. "This is slander," he said. His voice was loud, angry. "This man broke into my home. He stole private documents. He's been harassing me and my family. He's trying to destroy my reputation because he doesn't like that his daughter chose my son over him." Murmurs from the crowd. "That's not true," I said. "Then explain how you got those documents. Explain how you got my wife's medical records. Explain how you got into my office." I didn't answer. "You can't, because you broke the law and now you're here trying to justify it by painting me as some kind of monster." "You are a monster." The room erupted, people shouting, people standing up. The HOA president banging his gavel. "Order. Please, let's keep this civil." Donald pointed at me. "I want him removed. I want him banned from this community. And I want him prosecuted for breaking and entering." "You're not going to do that," I said. "Watch me. Because if you do, I'll make sure everything in that folder goes public. Not just to the HOA, not just to the church, but to the media, to your former employer, to everyone." His face went pale. "You're bluffing," he said. "Try me." The HOA president stood up. "Gentlemen, please, this isn't productive." "He started this," Donald said. "You started this," I shot back, "when you hit my daughter, when you terrorized your wife, when you hurt everyone around you and thought you'd never face consequences." "I never hurt anyone." Liar." He lunged at me, crossed the distance faster than I expected, grabbed my shirt, shoved me back against the wall. People screamed, chairs scraped, someone tried to pull him off, but I didn't fight back. I just looked at him, and I smiled. "There it is," I said quietly. "Let them see what you really are." He froze, realized what he'd done, realized everyone was watching. He let go, stepped back. His hands were shaking. "This meeting is over," the HOA president said. "Everyone out, now." People started filing out, slowly, reluctantly. Donald turned and walked toward the door. Beverly followed, then Jeff. My daughter stayed behind. She walked up to me. Her face was wet, her eyes red. "I hate you," she whispered. "I know." "You ruined everything." "He ruined everything. I just made sure everyone saw it." She shook her head. "I'm never speaking to you again." "Yes, you will." "No, I won't." She turned and walked out. I stood there alone. The HOA president approached. "You need to leave." "I'm going." "We'll be filing a report with the police about the break-in." "Go ahead." "You really think this was worth it?" I looked at him. "Ask me in 6 months." I left, drove home, sat in my kitchen, opened a beer, and waited for the fallout. It came fast. The next morning, the church announced that Donald had stepped down from his leadership positions, effective immediately. 2 days later, the HOA board voted to launch a formal investigation into his conduct. 3 days later, Summit Foods sent him a letter. I didn't see it, but I heard about it through Ed. They were terminating his pension, claimed he'd violated the NDA by allowing private documents to be exposed. 4 days later, Beverly filed for divorce. That one surprised me, but it shouldn't have. She'd been waiting for someone to crack the door open. I'd kicked it off the hinges. A week later, my daughter called. "Can we talk?" she asked. Her voice was different, smaller, broken. "Yeah," I said. "Of course." "Not over the phone. Can you come over?" "Where?" "We got an apartment, just me and Jeff. We moved out." She gave me the address. I drove over that afternoon. The apartment was small, first floor, cheap complex, nothing like the house they'd been living in. My daughter answered the door. She looked tired. Her face was puffy from crying. "Come in," she said. I walked in. The place was barely furnished. A couch, a TV, some boxes. Jeff was sitting on the couch. He stood up when he saw me. Looked like he hadn't slept in days. "I'll give you two some privacy," he said. He walked into the bedroom. Closed the door. My daughter sat down. I sat next to her. "His parents are getting divorced," she said. "His mom moved in with her sister. His dad is alone in that house. He's been calling Jeff nonstop, begging him to come back, saying he'll change. He won't. I know." "Is Jeff okay?" "No. He's devastated. He feels like he failed his dad, like he should have protected him." "Protected him from what? The truth?" She didn't answer. "I'm sorry," she said after a moment. "For what I said. At the meeting. I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did." "Okay, I did, but I don't anymore." "Why not?" "Because you were right. About everything. I didn't want to see it, but you were right. We sat in silence. I'm keeping the baby, she said. Jeff and I are going to try to make this work. I don't know if we will, but I have to try. Okay. And I'm getting a job. I already have an interview next week. I'm not going to be dependent on anyone anymore. Good. I'm scared, Dad. I know. But I think I'm going to be okay. You are. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. 3 weeks passed. I went back to work, back to my routine, site inspections, compliance reports, the same boring job I'd always had. But something was different now. People at work started treating me differently. Not bad, just different. Like they'd heard something. Like they knew I wasn't quite as harmless as I looked. I didn't mind. My daughter called me once a week, sometimes more. We talked about small things, her job search, her pregnancy, how Jeff was doing. She got the job, entry-level position at a marketing firm. Not great pay, but it was something. Jeff was struggling. His relationship with his father was destroyed. Donald kept calling, kept texting, kept trying to pull him back in, but Jeff held firm. For now. I knew it wouldn't last. Men like Donald don't give up. They wait, they regroup, they find new ways to exert control. I wasn't done with him yet. I just needed to wait for the right moment. It came in early December. I got a call from Ed. You need to hear this, he said. What? Summit's former CEO just got indicted. Federal charges, fraud, conspiracy, the whole thing. What does that have to do with Donald? Everything. The investigation uncovered documents from that USDA audit. Turns out the falsified temperature logs were part of a bigger scheme. They were covering up contamination to avoid recalls, save money, boost profits. And Donald knew? He was part of it. They found emails, memos. He was directly involved. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Are they going after him? I asked. Not yet, but if the feds keep digging, they will. And if they do, he's looking at serious time. I thanked Ed and hung up. Then I sat back and thought. This changed things. Donald's life was already falling apart. Divorce, lost pension, lost reputation. But federal charges? Prison? That was a whole different level. And I wasn't sure I wanted that. Not because I felt sorry for him. I didn't. But because I wanted him to live with what he'd done. I wanted him to wake up every day and face the consequences. To see his ex-wife rebuilding her life without him. To see his son choosing my daughter over him. To see everything he'd built turn to ash. Prison was too easy. Too clean. I wanted him to suffer. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to help the investigation, but I wasn't going to stop it either. I was just going to let it play out. In the meantime, I had other plans. I called my lawyer, a guy I'd used for contract reviews over the years. Competent, discreet. I need you to draft a restraining order, I said. Against who? Donald Pritchett. I explained the situation, gave him the details, told him about the threats, the confrontation at the HOA meeting, the harassment. This should be straightforward, he said. Do you have documentation? Plenty. Send it over. I'll file this week. The restraining order was granted 10 days later. Donald wasn't allowed within 500 feet of me. Wasn't allowed to contact me directly or indirectly. Wasn't allowed to come to my home or my workplace. He violated it immediately. Showed up at my house 2 days after the order was served. I was in the garage when I heard the knock. I didn't open the door. I called the police. They arrived 15 minutes later, arrested him on the spot. He spent the night in jail, got released the next morning with a warning, but it was on his record now. One more crack in the facade. Christmas came. My daughter invited me to their apartment for dinner. Just the 3 of us. Her, Jeff, me. It was awkward at first. Jeff barely spoke. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 months. But my daughter was different, stronger, more present. She was starting to show. Just a little. But enough that it was real. After dinner, Jeff excused himself. Said he needed to make a phone call. My daughter and I sat on the couch. How are you really doing? I asked. She thought about it. Better, not good, but better. And Jeff? He's trying, but he's broken. His whole life was built around his dad's approval. Now that's gone. He doesn't know who he is. Will he figure it out? I don't know. I hope so. We sat in silence. Thank you, she said, for everything. I know it cost you. It didn't cost me anything. It cost you me. For a while. You were always going to come back. How did you know? Because you're my daughter. She smiled. Small. Sad. Do you think his dad will ever change? She asked. No. Why not? Because men like him don't change. They just get better at hiding. That's depressing. That's reality, she nodded. Jeff still talks to him sometimes. Not often, but sometimes he can't help it. I know. Does that bother you? No, he's his father. That's complicated. Yeah. More silence. Then she said, I'm naming the baby after you if it's a boy. I looked at her. You don't have to do that. I want to. What if it's a girl? Then I'll name her after Mom. I didn't know what to say to that. She would have liked that, I finally said. I know. I left an hour later, drove home, sat in my living room, and for the first time in months I felt something close to peace. It didn't last. In January, the federal investigation went public. Summit Foods' former CEO was arraigned. The details hit the news: fraud, corruption, contaminated product, sick employees. Donald's name came up, not prominently, but enough. A local reporter reached out to me, asked if I'd comment. I declined. 2 days later, the reporter ran the story anyway. Used information from my dossier. Someone had leaked it, probably someone from the church, or the HOA, or one of the plaintiffs. Didn't matter. The story spread, local news picked it up, then regional, then national outlets started calling. I ignored them all, but Donald couldn't. His lawyer issued a statement, denied everything, blamed disgruntled ex-employees, called it a witch hunt. It didn't work. 3 weeks later, the feds came for him. They raided his house, seized documents, computers, files. Beverly wasn't living there anymore, so she didn't have to watch. But Jeff did. He'd stopped by to pick up some of his old things. Walked right into the middle of it. My daughter called me that night. Hysterical. They arrested him, she said. They arrested his dad. I know. I saw the news. Jeff is losing it. He's saying this is your fault. He's saying you did this. I didn't. Then who did? He did. To himself. That's not good enough. It's the truth. She went quiet. Jeff wants to help him, she said. He wants to hire a lawyer. He wants to use our savings. Don't let him. I can't stop him. Yes, you can. How? By reminding him that his father made his own choices, and now he has to live with them. She didn't respond. Are you still there? I asked. Yeah, I'm here. What are you going to do? I don't know. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. This was spiraling, faster than I'd expected. I hadn't wanted this, hadn't planned for federal charges, for arrests, for Jeff getting dragged into it, but it was too late to stop now. The machine was in motion. Donald's arraignment was set for 2 weeks later. The charges were serious. Conspiracy to defraud, falsifying federal documents, obstruction of justice. If convicted, he was looking at 10 to 15 years. I didn't go to the arraignment, but my daughter did. She texted me afterward. He looks terrible. He's lost weight. He looks old. I didn't reply. A week later, Donald's lawyer reached out to me, left a voicemail, professional, polite. Mr. Brennan, my name is Alan Cross. I represent Donald Pritchett. I'd like to speak with you about the allegations you've made against my client. Please call me back at your earliest convenience. I deleted the message. He called again the next day. I didn't answer. The third time he called, I picked up. What do you want? I said. I want to talk. Off the record. Just you and me. Why? Because I think we can come to an understanding. I doubt that. Mr. Brennan, my client is facing very serious charges. Charges that could destroy what's left of his life. I believe you've played a role in that. I didn't falsify federal documents. No, but you've certainly made sure everyone knows about it. And? And I'm asking you to back off. Stop talking to reporters. Stop spreading information. Let the legal process play out. I'm not talking to reporters. I haven't said a word. Then someone else is. And I believe that someone is using information you provided. That's not my problem. It could be. If my client believes you've defamed him, he could file a civil suit. I laughed. Let him try. I'm serious. So am I. Tell your client if he wants to sue me, go ahead. I'll countersue for what he did to my daughter, and I'll make sure every detail ends up in public court records. Silence. You're making a mistake, he said. You keep saying that, but I'm still here. I hung up. That night, Jeff showed up at my house. I heard the knock and looked through the peephole. He was standing there, alone, looking like hell. I opened the door. Can I come in? He asked. No. Please. I just want to talk. About what? About my dad. There's nothing to talk about. He's going to prison. Probably. Because of you? No. Because of him. Jeff's face twisted. He looked like he was going to cry. You destroyed him, he said. You destroyed my family. He destroyed your family, long before I got involved. That's bullshit. Is it? Ask your mom. Ask Beverly. Ask her how many years she spent terrified of him. Ask her how many times she thought about leaving but didn't because she had nowhere to go. You don't know anything about their marriage. I know enough. He stepped closer. You need to fix this. I can't. Yes, you can. You can talk to the prosecutors. Tell them you exaggerated. Tell them you made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. Then lie. No. Please. His voice broke. Please. He's my dad. And she's my daughter, and you watched him hit her and did nothing. He flinched. That's not fair. Life's not fair. I'm begging you. Go home, Jeff. If he goes to prison, I'll never forgive you. I can live with that. He stared at me, eyes red, fists clenched. For a second, I thought he might swing. But he didn't. He just turned and walked away. I closed the door, locked it, and went back to my kitchen, poured a drink, and thought about what came next. The trial started in March. It lasted 3 weeks. I didn't attend, didn't follow the news coverage, didn't ask for updates. But my daughter kept me informed whether I wanted to know or not. She texted me every day, summaries, details, her reactions. Prosecution opened today. They're going hard. Dad looked scared. One of the plaintiffs testified, said he almost died from the contaminated product. Jury looked angry. Jeff's dad took the stand. He denied everything, said he was just following orders. No one believed him. Closing arguments tomorrow. Jeff hasn't eaten in 2 days. And then, on a Thursday afternoon, guilty on all counts. I stared at that message for a long time. Guilty. It was over. Sentencing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. The prosecution recommended 12 years. The defense asked for leniency, cited his age, his lack of prior criminal history, his community involvement. The judge gave him 10 years, no parole eligibility for at least 7. My daughter called me the day of sentencing. He cried, she said, when they read the sentence. He actually cried. How's Jeff? Destroyed. Completely destroyed. He won't talk to me. He won't eat. He just sits there staring at nothing. Give him time. How much time? I don't know. I'm 7 months pregnant, Dad. I don't have time. I need him to be present. I need him to be okay, and he's not. He will be. You don't know that. No, I don't. Silence. Do you feel good about this? She asked. About what happened? No. Then why did you do it? Because it needed to be done. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She hung up. I didn't call her back. 2 weeks later, she went into labor. Jeff called me from the hospital. It's happening, he said. She's asking for you. I drove to the hospital, walked into the maternity ward, found her room. She was in bed, sweating, exhausted, but alive, present. Jeff was sitting in a chair next to her, holding her hand. He looked at me when I walked in, didn't say anything, just nodded. I sat down on the other side of the bed. Hey, sweetheart, I said. Hey, Dad, she squeezed my hand. I'm scared, she whispered. I know. What if I'm a bad mom? You won't be. How do you know? Because you already care this much. She smiled, weak, tired. The contractions got worse. The nurses came in, checked her, said it was almost time. Jeff stood up, looked at me. Can you wait outside? He asked. I looked at my daughter. She nodded. Okay, I said. I left the room, sat in the waiting area, and waited. 3 hours later, Jeff came out. He looked different, shell-shocked, but something else, too. It's a boy, he said. Congratulations. She wants to see you. I stood up, followed him back to the room. My daughter was holding the baby, wrapped in a blue blanket. Tiny, perfect. Hey, she said softly. Hey, come here. I walked over. She held the baby out. Meet your grandson. I took him, carefully, held him close. He was so small, so fragile. What's his name? I asked. She looked at Jeff. He nodded. Thomas, she said. We're naming him Thomas. My name. I didn't know what to say. "Thank you," I finally managed. She smiled. "You saved me, Dad. I know I didn't always see it, but you did." I looked down at the baby, at his tiny face, his closed eyes, and I thought about everything it had taken to get here. The lies, the confrontations, the destroyed relationships, the federal charges, the prison sentence, all of it leading to this moment. A new life, a chance to start over. "He's perfect," I said. "He is." I handed the baby back to her, sat down in the chair, and for the first time in months, I let myself relax. It was over. Donald was in prison, Beverly was free, my daughter was safe, the baby was healthy. I'd won. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like survival. A week later, I got a letter. No return address. Handwritten. I opened it. It was from Beverly. "Dear Tom, I know we've never been close. I know you probably think I'm weak for staying as long as I did. Maybe I am, but I wanted you to know that what you did gave me the strength to leave. You showed me that Donald wasn't untouchable, that someone could stand up to him and survive. I'm starting over now. I got an apartment. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm rebuilding my life. I don't know if you'll ever see this letter, but I needed to write it. I needed to say thank you. You saved my life too, Beverly." I read it 3 times. Then I folded it up and put it in my desk drawer, next to the folder, next to all the evidence I'd gathered. I didn't need it anymore, but I kept it anyway, just in case. That night, my daughter called. "Jeff's dad called him from prison," she said. "What did he say?" "That he's sorry, that he's going to get help, that he wants to be part of Thomas's life when he gets out." "What did Jeff say?" "He said he'd think about it." "And you?" "I told him if his dad comes anywhere near our son, I'll get a restraining order." "Good." "Jeff didn't like that." "He'll get over it." "Will he?" "Eventually." Silence. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "Do you think we're going to be okay?" "I know you are." "How?" "Because you're stronger than you think. And you're not alone." "Promise?" "Promise." We talked for a few more minutes. Then she said the baby was crying and she had to go. I hung up, sat in my kitchen, opened a beer, and thought about what came next. There was still work to do. There always was. But for now, this was enough. I'd kept my daughter safe. I'd given her a chance. I'd made sure the man who hurt her faced consequences. The rest was up to her. I finished my beer, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Tomorrow I'd go back to work, back to site inspections and compliance reports and the boring routine that made people underestimate me. And that was fine. Because I'd learned something through all of this. The most dangerous people aren't the ones who look dangerous. They're the ones who look harmless. The ones who wait, the ones who watch. The ones who know exactly how to dismantle your life piece by piece until there's nothing left. I was one of those people. And if anyone ever hurt my family again, I'd do it all over again. Without hesitation, without regret, without mercy. Because that's what fathers do. They protect. No matter the cost, no matter the consequences, no matter what. And I'd proven that I was very, very good at it. I closed my eyes and smiled.